everybody. My name is Mike Gardner, and I'd like to welcome you to the July edition of the Digital Chatter Box for Endeavor Cinema Groups. With me, I have a special guest, local filmmaker, Mr. Wes Sutton. Wes, thanks for coming out today. Beautiful Saturday morning.
Thanks for having me.
I don't think we could have picked a better day.
Nope.
It's absolutely gorgeous out here. So you have this film. Let's talk about Last Flight. How did this come about, and how did it all get started?
It was in a collaboration with my friend Alvin Highsong. That it was a story that he originally created, and I think it's actually something he's been thinking about since he was about 13 years old.
Okay.
That he had to do a class where he had to do an oratory and come up with something to talk about. So he had this idea, and then he finally fleshed it out into a script format.
I see.
And he brought it to me, and we looked, and there was just some elements that I wanted to add, and I actually asked him, is that okay that we maybe changed it a little bit or added some things, and he was all for that. I mean, the main arc of the story he just wanted was what he's concerned with, and I just add some other things to kind of add to the dramatic.
So other than about being a plane, obviously, tell us a little bit more about what Last Flight is about, where it takes place, and some of the characters.
Yes, well, it's basically about a pilot that makes choices and decisions that he does that affects his life immediately, and just the things that are choices you make in life, and how they can come back to be good or bad depending on those choices that you make. So this pilot, and it's interesting that that we wanted sort of the theme is it's in black and white, and we wanted it to make it sort of a Twilight Zone.
I see.
Maybe even more of a night gallery type of thing.
Yes.
And so it's
a couple of my favorites.
Psychological type thriller drama. And this pilot, in the story that he goes on and just the things that he does. And so we made it in black and white to go along with that and maybe sort of enhance the feeling of
kind of give it a noir type.
Exactly.
Yeah, that Twilight episode with who was the actor where the creature's out on the wing?
William Shatner.
William Shatner and I can't remember the other actor's name. It's one of my favorite episodes. Just absolutely coolest episode of Twilight Zone ever. It's this thing out on the wing and nobody believes in its awesomeness because you're enclosed in that little environment. And so you and Alvin basically co-wrote the film, got it done, directed it. Now it's finished and it's being shown in theaters around the Metroplex. We're going to be screening this Sunday, the 28th of July. We usually get together around 6:30. We start watching films around 7:15, and we're going to watch Last Flight. So tell us a few of the main characters, some of the local actors and actresses that you have in the film.
Yes, there's the John Barron and Teresa Stewart and Sherry Davis and David Vaught.
Okay.
And there's some of the lead characters, and John Barron plays the pilot. He goes through this interesting story about what happens to him, and again I directed it and I shot it, I edited it, did all the visual effects, and that was the neat thing is we got to actually shoot in an actual airplane. So it was a 737 that's a retired airplane, and it's at the Flight Museum, the Frontiers of Flight Museum in Dallas, which is right next to Love Field.
Yeah. And
so they actually have two of them. One of them is just the front part is cut in half, and the other is the entire plane, but most of the plane sticks outside. It's just the nose part, or the cockpit actually is inside. And so there were some challenges to that, though.
I was just going to ask you about that. It had to be pretty tight quarters, I would think, in a lot of cases.
Well, I was actually surprised when you go. I just thought when you're in an airplane cockpit that you'd be, but the pilots literally sit this close, and there's a console here, and a 737 is a relatively smaller plane compared to a 747. But also the challenge of that plane was it's more of a museum piece than it is an airplane anymore.
I see.
So in the back it only has, I don't want to give away too much, I guess, when you're watching it, but there's only 3 rows of seats on one side.
Right.
So there were no seats on the other side, and there's a lot of display things. So it's really not an airplane. I'm sure, like in Hollywood, you could rent a real airplane and you wouldn't have to deal with all that. Also, when we had to do things with the blue screen, we had challenges on that we had to work around. But overall, just to be able to fly in a plane, to be able to have a plane to shoot in.
What a great place to shoot.
So instead of having fake a lot of things.
So watch for that. See if you can catch his 3-seat debacle there on the airplane.
It looks like there's
it's not always what you think you see on a film, but we appreciate you coming out and talking to us about. I'm really looking forward to seeing the film. Again, that's going to be this Sunday at the 4-day weekend. The film starts at 7 o'clock, but we usually get there around 6:30. We have a few cocktails, have some fun. So come out and join us. Wes, thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.